welcome back on this glorious afternoon. We've had probably one of the most beautiful weekends of the year, and I think we call it false spring because we're due to get a cold snap tomorrow, but that's fine. Got to make the most of it while it is beautiful. Today I'm going to be working in the house garden just over here. We call this section of the garden the house garden because it's at the front of the house. And this border we call the warm border, and it was one of the first borders that I planted when around the same time we planted the beech hedge. And I get a lovely view of it from out of the kitchen window every single day. I wanted to make sure that this gave me joy most of the year, and that is why we have this evergreen holly in it, because it adds structure. It's a good plant that sits to the front of the beech hedge, so when the beech becomes dormant like it is, this tends to stand out a little bit more. Now all of this was planted tiny. The holly, the hedge went in very, very small, and now it's reached this height. It's quite, I feel like it's an achievement. I wait to do this section until this time of year. I also hang on until we've had a few days of dry weather, because I very much dislike walking on a lawn if it's been frosted or if it's a little bit waterlogged, because if I'm toing and froing and kneeling and moving off and on the lawn, it can damage it. So today is the perfect day to be out here tackling this section. I'm going to give you a quick talk through on what I've got in here, what I'm going to be cutting back, and what I'm not going to touch at all. First of all, I have got some alliums that are starting to come up. I do have some daffodils scattered in here as well. I've also got this hypericum. It's just your standard hypericum that has its yellow flowers and very nice autumn berries. Now I'm going to be cutting that right back down to the ground, and you can see that there's some new growth starting to form at the base. I could leave this, but I don't want it any bigger than this size, so I keep cutting it back every year. Just behind it is a rose. This has already had its pruning. We prune our roses in January. Take a closer look. We can see there are some buds already starting to appear. This rose is called Westerland. It's been in here for quite a few years now, and it is quite a big rose and can almost get as tall as the hedge. And then next to it we've got this evergreen holly, which glistens in this late afternoon sunshine. And if we come to the base down here, I've got this little sedum going on here, and it's just about hanging on in there despite not getting an awful lot of light. Now this holly has become quite big. I've left it in here because amazingly it still flowers. And then just behind here I've got a Persicaria red dragon. You can just see the glistening leaves appearing. See, just there and there. And that gets quite big and juts out through the holly, which looks lovely. Just to the front here we've got these lovely little tiny blue muscari that are all coming up. And the muscari run right the way along the edge of this border underneath the holly. And then we've got another hypericum here that I'll also cut back. And then next to it, this is a Liriope muscari. Pop a picture next to it there for you to see. Loves shade and does quite well under here. And then just here, this This is an Acer, beautiful. It's an Acer dissectum. I'm not sure of the actual proper variety name of it, but it works beautiful and gives the warmth in here, as well as the sedum and the persicaria and the rose, because the rose is a very beautiful warm orange. It's gorgeous, like a peachy orange. And then as we move around to the side here, this, and it's not coming up at the moment, the remnants of this is a persicaria, a different variety which has more of a golden leaf to it. Very, very pretty. And we've got some self-sewn foxgloves. This is the digitalis parviflora, which has seeded itself from those over there. And then as we move along, we've got some more alliums here. And then we've got a lot more alliums going on in here. Now we've got a tree stump at the back here, which was a cypress, a very tall cypress that we took down a couple of years ago. So we do have a bit of a gap here, but actually I think this Acer will just start to bridge that fairly soon. And then we have this begonia. Now it's a love-hate thing for people, but I do love it. Look at those leaves. I can't remember the variety of this, but its leaves do go quite a nice red colour, which I find very attractive. The first thing I'm going to do is cut back the hypericum, and then I can really get into this area. Then what I'm going to do is all of the leaf fall around the front of the border, I'm going to just push it under the hedge and push it to the back of the border where it can just sit and rot. And then I will just tidy up any other things that need tidying up. I obviously won't be touching the holly, ilex, and I won't be touching any of the bulbs that are coming up, like your alliums and your muscari. The Acer doesn't really need pruning. I do like the shape of that, so I won't be touching that either. Right, let's get started. Right, now I've cut back the hypericum, just going to push that under there. Then what I'm going to do is just tuck around the corner behind the Acer and cut back the stems of the persicaria and anything else that looks a little bit straggly there. Well, it's looking much tidier already. I've pushed a lot of the leaves to the back, and then the front section right the way across and round the corner, I've lifted the leaves and I've put them in a trug, and they will go onto the compost heap. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to neaten up the edge, because a lot of it erodes during the year when lots of plants spill out onto the lawn, and all I need to do is just sharpen it up a little bit. Further along here, just underneath this Acer, it gets very, very bare. No grass grows underneath here, because as soon as this comes into leaf, it shades it too much. And there's actually no real point in me trying to pretty this section up, because before long we're going to have leaves and all of this will be hidden anyway. And I think I can bear looking at it as it is. I will be using edging shears and a spade. I do actually have a proper edging tool which has a half circle edge to it and a turned edge as well, and then you can push it into the soil and move it along. But Tom's, it's in his truck somewhere and I can't be bothered looking for it, and a spade does just as good a job. Easier to see it from this angle, and all I want to do is just skim across here and make it look much tidier and sharper. And I will go in and I'll just push the soil in. And what I want to do is probably give an edge by about that much. So I will push the spade in and then push the soil away, and then I'll just start to form a nice edge. And then once I've done that, I can then go across it with the shears to just crispen it up a little bit. Just push and then give it a little kick, and then again. And this little bit of grass can be used in any sections that go too far into the lawn, so I'll move those out in case I need them. But straight away you can see a nice edge forming, and I can pull out any unwanted little nasties that don't look very tidy. And then to sharpen it, I will just clip how much of a difference does that make just by sharpening the edge to a border. I haven't even cut the grass. It has made a huge difference, like icing on the cake. In fact, you could probably go into a border and literally just do the first front section of it and edge it, and it transforms it. And that's pretty much what I've done actually. I've pushed a lot of the leaves to the back and edged it and cut a few things back, and voila, much tidier. I could even get away without top dressing it. I haven't got time now, but I feel so much better that I've done something in the garden, and I can look from my kitchen window and start to watch everything come into leaf, into bud, into flower. I can really start to watch this border wake up right from my kitchen window, starting from the alliums to the roses budding and leafing up and then flowering, and the sedums and the acer as well. I certainly feel I've earned my cup of tea now. Well, I hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.